Hello dears, I am Aziraphale, and I will be blogging about books today. I just thought I'd share what we're all reading and ask for some suggestions from you or whomever really. I actually thought I'd, turn on some quiet music and we'd get started. So let me turn on some quiet music. My music, of course, because let's be honest, nobody else has quite as good taste as I do lately. All that crazy rock and pop and punk. Bebop, really. Well, anyway, I'm going to blog about books, and I'm going to start with my book, because that's the book that I'm reading right now. This is Tales from a Travelling Couch by Robert U. Akeret, I believe is how he pronounced his name, although I wouldn't hold me accountable for that. I'll read the dust jacket for each, and then I'll tell you what we're thinking of it. I'm about... Where's my dog-eared page? That dog-eared terribly. I'm 105 pages in, so about halfway through, I think that is? About halfway, yes. And I'm currently enjoying it quite a bit. Of course, there are some bits that are less, I suppose, pronounced in the way of political correctness, but it's good and it examines topics rather objectively. And the dust jacket reads: After 35 years in practice, prominent New York psychotherapist and author Robert Akeret finds himself in the thrall of a single question: did therapy make a real difference in his patients' lives? So on a Sunday morning in April, Dr. Akeret got into his van and set off to visit the most memorable former patients, a journey in search of story endings. And what remarkable stories they are. Naomi, an abused young Jewish girl from the Bronx who transforms herself into a Spanish flamenco dancer named Isabella. Was this a symptom of multiple personality disorder, or Naomi's new self, life-saving personality adaptation? Who was she now in her mid-50s? What about Charles, the animal trainer who fell madly in love with a circus polar bear? He had been able to resist his fatal psychosexual attraction. What became of Seth, a man obsessed with sadomasochistic fantasies, yet drawn to the loving culture of the 60s? Which side of him had won? What of Sasha, the dashing prize-winning French novelist and with writer's block and a penchant for exploiting women? In the end, did his art prevail or his life? And what became of Mary? Did she ever murder again? Like a brilliant psychological detective novel, this book tells you these stories in fascinating detail while raising fundamental questions about psychotherapy. Does it work? Does it last? Are these questions even answerable? Returning home with his story endings, Dr. Akeret found that his journey has reshaped his idea of what it means to be rich and satisfying in life. And I personally am enjoying it, although there are some times that could go better, of course. Sorry, we're terribly ill at the moment, and have been for quite a while. Next is Lord of the Rings, which Frankie and Mikey have been reading, and, I'm not actually going to read the dust jacket of this one, because everybody knows what Lord of the Rings is about, I should hope. And of course, Frankie and Mikey aren't reading it for the first time or anything, it's just they're reading it. And it's actually, of course, a very good book, because it's a classic and everyone should know their classics. Frankie and Mikey are enjoying it. Next is the book that Tom and Brendan are reading, which is Oddly Normal by Jonathan Schwartz, I believe? John Schwartz. and it's about a boy coming out. I'll read the dust jacket. 3 years ago, John Schwartz, a national correspondent for the New York Times, got the call that every parent hopes never to receive. His 13-year-old son, Joe, was in the hospital following a suicide attempt. Mustering the strength and courage to come out to his classmates, Joe had delivered a tirade about homophobic and sexist attitudes that was greeted with unease and confusion by his fellow students. Hours later, he took an overdose of pills. After a couple weeks in the hospital and locked in the psychiatric ward of a treatment center, Joe returned to his family. As he recovered, his parents were dismayed by his school's inability to address, or reluctance to deal with, Joe's needs. Determined to help their son feel more comfortable in his own skin, Schwartz and his wife, Jeanne, launched their own search for services and groups that could help Joe know he wasn't alone. In Oddly Normal, Schwartz writes of his family struggles within a culture that is changing fast, but not fast enough. Interweaving his narrative with contextual chapters in psychology, law, and common questions, Schwartz shares crucial lessons about helping gay kids learn to cope in a potentially hostile world, from buying rhinestone-studded toddler shoes to creating a Joseph manual for Joe's teachers, and finding a hairdresser who stocks purple dye, fighting erroneous personality disorder diagnoses. Oddly Normal offers a deeply personal look into one boy's growing up. And they're enjoying it quite a bit. They're actually finding it really objective, which is interesting to see in a gay book, I'm told. Then here's another that I'm not reading the jacket for because lots of people know it, and we're already 6 minutes in, and I have more and more books to get past. This is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. It's his latest novel, and as you can see, our front page has quite a few notes written in it, which is actually the interesting thing about this book. To date, I think there are 4 people who have marks in this book, who have put down marks in this book, and I thought I'd read the first page because it's actually kind of interesting in my opinion. I may or may not like spying on my headmates. To make a note, many a person has read this copy. Thomas Michelson is responsible for highlighted sections and the note at the end, which is actually torn out now. Philip Percival, dying at the time of marking, is responsible for all underlines with the ticky things at the end. This is a rather sloppy denotation. This was at the time that Tom's first recognized headmate was dying, so that was Philip Percival, Phil, to his friends, and he was a friend of mine actually, and most everyone was very upset when he died. It's alright though. One moment, my husband is demanding I pay attention to him, and he gets like that sometimes. Yes, give me a moment to read your texts, and I will. He's texted me a thing that I tell him not to do, but he's doing anyway. Angel, psst, Angel. And then he did it again. I'm not blushing. And then under Phil's note it says, blame for the parentheses may be placed on the Greedler, who at the time of reading was very pissed off at the unjustness of things. The Greedler was a headmate from our partner system who was very close with Phil. And then underneath that there is the tiny little note from Mikey, which reads, penciled in annotations can be accredited to Mikey Way, a creature who is plagued by no such disease as dying. For him being alive is up for debate. And of course they all made notes and such throughout the book. It's kind of a lovely copy to have it, so at least doing that again. Well, it's a lovely copy to have because so many people have read it and left their thoughts in it because it's a very moving book. Then we have Leviathan, which is by Scott Westerfield, and Tom is reading this one and the other one by Scott Westerfield, which is The Uglies, or just Uglies. And this one is about a prince and a girl who are on opposite sides of a warring army of steampunk monsters and steampunk fighting machines and mythical monsters. It's a very interesting read, though he's not very far in, from what I have been told. And here's the last book that I'll be presenting, which is The Uglies, which is actually something that both Tom, Chester, Mikey, and Brendan are reading, because apparently the universe that Chester, Mikey, and Brendan come from is a lot like the universe in this book, because they're from a dystopia that was inspired by it. So it's actually very interesting to be reading it, because it gives you some insight into the people and their lives before, and it's nice. All of this is actually rather nice. And over the summer we're going to get more time to read. We're almost out of summer school. We're almost out of school. Tomorrow is our last day. Secondary school is just draining away. It's lovely, actually. I don't want to be here. It's not meant to be in Crowley. My husband is continuing to text me. Anyway, but yes, I think we're in a very good place right now, and that with all the books, we're enjoying everything that we're reading. So that's always a good sign. Let's try to make these both front face. There we go. I'm not used to this being flipped, not being flipped vertically like a mirror. I just flipped it because I'm showing off text. Anyway, if any of you have suggestions for me or for any of us, or if anybody has anything that they really enjoy reading, or if they would like to enjoy reading anything, we have tons of suggestions depending on what genres you like, and of course we have such varied interests that we can probably help you out. We'd love to hear from you and what you're reading or what you'd like to be reading. Have a nice day, alright? I'll vlog again soon, will you?